A canine German shepherd mother shows up at a family's door with her puppy. What they see next shocks them. It was just after sunrise when the Mitchell family heard the soft, frantic scratching at their front door. Living on the edge of a quiet forest town in Oregon, they were used to deer, raccoons, even the occasional coyote. But nothing could have prepared them for what they found that morning. Standing on their porch, trembling and soaked with mud, was 8K9 German Shepherd. But she wasn't alone. Tucked beneath her, nearly lifeless, was a tiny puppy clinging to her fur. They opened the door, and what happened next left them absolutely speechless, because the markings on the mother's ear revealed something no one was ready for, and her arrival was no accident. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications. This helps us bring more inspiring stories like this to you, where courage, loyalty, and love defy every expectation. Get ready for a true story of survival, sacrifice, and the powerful instinct of a mother who crossed miles of danger for one reason only: to save her child. The morning mist still clung to the windows when 9-year-old Lily Mitchell came running into the kitchen, her bare feet pattering across the wood floor. "Mom, Dad, something's outside." Her mother, Amanda, was pouring coffee. Her father, Mark, barely glanced up from his phone. "Honey, probably just a squirrel again," Amanda said gently. "No, it's a dog," Lily insisted, and she scratched in the door like she's scared. Mark finally rose from the table. As he walked in front of the house, he could hear it now. Soft, deliberate scraping against the door. Not wild, not desperate. Pleading. He opened the door slowly and froze. There, on their doormat, stood a German shepherd. Thin, soaking wet, covered in patches of dried mud. Her eyes were wide with exhaustion and something else. Determination. But it wasn't just her. Curled against her belly was a tiny puppy, barely breathing, wrapped in what looked like a torn piece of cloth. "Oh my God," Amanda whispered, appearing behind Mark. The mother shepherd raised her head slightly and let out a soft whimper. It wasn't a bark, it wasn't a growl, just a sound that said, "Please." Amanda knelt down instinctively, her eyes tearing up. She's protecting him. Mark noticed something strange. There was a number tattooed inside the shepherd's left ear, faded but visible. "K9 unit," he murmured. "She's military." They helped the mother and her puppy inside. The moment they crossed the threshold, the shepherd collapsed to the floor with a heavy sigh, nudging the pup closer to her body. Amanda grabbed blankets while Mark fetched water and a few slices of ham. "She came here on purpose," Amanda said, stunned. "She must have known we were here, that we'd help. She's not just any dog," Mark added. "She was trained." As Lily sat nearby watching with wide eyes, the mother dog looked up just briefly and locked eyes with her. Something passed between them. Recognition, relief, or maybe just a simple piece of mother who had finally found someone to trust. They named her Shadow because she had appeared like one, out of the fog, almost ghost-like, carrying a secret in her steps. Later that day, the local vet, Dr. Evans, arrived after Amanda's urgent call. He examined the mother and pup carefully in their living room, where they had set up a warm corner with towels, food, and water. The mother's underweight. Her paws are torn. "Looks like she's been running for miles, days maybe," he said. "And the pup?" Amanda asked. "He's very weak, dehydrated, but he has a fighting chance." He paused, then looked at the number tattooed on Shadow's ear. This is a military ID. She was trained for combat, possibly retired. Why would she show up here? Mark asked. Dr. Evans looked down at Shadow, who had her head on her paws but kept her eyes on her baby. Sometimes dogs know. They remember places, faces. She came here because she needed someone to trust. Mark and Amanda exchanged a glance. "But we've never met her before," Mark said. Shadow let out a faint sound, almost like a sigh. Then she licked her pup's ear softly and closed her eyes. That night, Lily wouldn't leave her side. She curled up near Shadow, one hand resting gently on the dog's back. As the storm rolled in outside and rain beat against the windows, the Mitchell home was quiet, warm, and wrapped in something stronger than safety. Connection. But as they drifted asleep, none of them knew yet just how far Shadow had come or what she had escaped from. Because out there, beyond the trees and the hills, someone was looking for her, and they weren't coming to rescue her. The next morning brought a chill that crept through the trees surrounding the Mitchells' home. Fog curled over the grass like fingers refusing to let go of the night. Inside, the warmth of the fireplace held the family together, along with a mother dog who hadn't moved from her spot all night. Shadow opened her eyes slowly as the first light filtered through the windows. Her body was stiff, her breathing shallow, but the pup was still alive. Curled close to her chest, wrapped in the warm blanket Amanda had tucked beneath them. Lily woke first, rubbing her eyes and tiptoeing down the hallway. She dropped to her knees beside Shadow and whispered, "You're safe now." The shepherd blinked, then gently licked the girl's hand. In the kitchen, Amanda and Mark were already whispering over coffee. "There's something more going on here," Mark said. "She didn't just showed up by accident? A train, Kay. 9 doesn't run without a reason." Amanda nodded. "You saw her pads, Mark. That dog ran through God knows what. She was headed somewhere. She chose us." Mark sighed. "I called the local shelter this morning. No reports of missing K9 units. But I also checked the number in her ear again. It's not standard police format. Could be military or private security." Amanda paused, her expression shifting. "What does that mean?" "It means she may have been working for someone unofficial." They were interrupted by a knock at the door. Mark opened it cautiously. On the porch stood a man in a sheriff's uniform, older, calm, with gray stubble and kind but sharp eyes. "Sheriff Dalton," he introduced himself. "I got word you found a German shepherd with AK-9 tattoo." Mark nodded, inviting him in. The sheriff's eyes landed on Shadow immediately. "She yours?" "No," Amanda said gently. "She showed up yesterday morning with her puppy." Dalton knelt beside the dog and examined the ear. "Not one of ours. Tattoo's off. Looks like an old contractor tag. Seen a few like that. Some private units use dogs for security overseas. Mercenary-type outfits. Unregulated. No oversight." Lily stepped closer. "What does that mean?" The sheriff stood. "It means she may have been part of something rough. And if she ran, she was running from something." Just then, a sound echoed from the edge of the property. Distant crunching tires on gravel. Mark moved to the window. A black SUV was creeping along the old trail road that led through the woods. Slow, deliberate, tinted windows. Amanda's voice was barely above a whisper. "That's not anyone we know." Shadow's head shot up. She growled low. Sheriff Dalton noticed. She recognizes that sound. The SUV didn't pull into the driveway. Instead, it paused and reversed, slowly disappearing behind the trees. Dalton grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, this is Dalton. I need a unit on Forest Trail, near the Mitchell property. Suspicious vehicle, possibly connected to a military-grade K9. Mark turned to him, voice tense. "You think they were looking for her?" Dalton nodded grimly. "And I think she didn't want them to find her." That night, the Mitchells made space in the garage for Shadow and her pup, setting up a bed of blankets and heating pads. They weren't ready to let the authorities take her, if that was even safe. Amanda sat with her, brushing the dirt from her coat gently. "What did you run from, girl?" she whispered. Shadow didn't answer, but her body trembled slightly at the sound of tires passing far off in the distance. The next morning, Lily found a small piece of torn cloth near the fence line, faded, stained. She handed it to Mark, who unfolded it carefully. There, almost invisible in the fabric, was a stitch patch, a logo, a name, barely readable. Black Rock Tactical Unit 11. Amanda swallowed hard. "Mark, isn't that one of those private military companies that was shut down?" Mark nodded slowly. "Years ago." The name Black Rock Tactical hit Mark like a punch to the chest. He remembered the news headlines from 5 years ago. Scandals, leaked documents, testimonies from whistleblowers. Black Rock Tactical had operated in legal gray zones across war-torn countries. It had once been a top-tier private security contractor, until investigations revealed illegal arms deals, mercenary recruitment, and the use of experimental Khmer units trained. Under brutal conditions, the company had been dismantled, or so the public thought. Now one of their dogs, a mother, was sleeping under his roof. Later that evening, while Amanda tucked Lily into bed, Mark sat in the garage with Shadow. The pup was getting stronger, feeding from a small bottle Dr. Evans had provided. Shadow's eyes never left Mark's face as he sat across from her. "You're a part of something dark, aren't you?" he whispered. "But you made it out. You protected him. You knew where to go." She tilted her head slightly, as if listening or remembering. He noticed something on her neck, a tiny scar just below the fur. He gently parted the hair and found a faint outline of what looked like a surgical tag, a microchip. He took a photo and sent it to Sheriff Dalton. An hour later, Dalton called back. "That chip's encrypted, not government registered. My contact in D.C. says it was used by a BlackRock research division." "Research?" Mark asked. "Yeah, these weren't just dogs. They were part of something else, trained with special conditioning, built for extreme environments. Zero emotional dependence." Mark looked at Shadow, who was now gently nudging her pup to sleep. "Then how do you explain this?" Dalton paused. "Maybe she failed their training," he said quietly. "Or maybe she learned what they didn't expect. Compassion." The next morning, Amanda opened the front door to get the paper and froze. A manila envelope sat on the porch. No postage, no name, just the word "return" written in black marker. Inside was a single photograph. It showed Shadow, not in a kennel or a training facility, but standing beside 4 men in tactical gear, muzzle off, eyes locked on a target in the distance. The date on the bottom corner was nearly 6 years old. Amanda called for Mark. He stared at the image, heart racing. "They've been here," he said. "Someone left this, which means they know where she is." Amanda's voice shook. "Why not just take her?" "They're watching, waiting, trying to scare us into giving her back." Amanda looked toward the garage. "They won't scare me." Mark clenched his jaw. "They're going to try." Later that day, Dr. Evans returned with the results of a scan on Shadow's microchip. He had borrowed a reader from a university contact. The chip has internal memory, something rare for animal ID tech. "It holds video," he said, from a body cam she was linked to during deployment. Mark and Amanda watched as Evans played the footage on his tablet. The screen flickered, then revealed helmet cam footage. Blurry, chaotic, fast. Gunfire. Screams. A dusty compound in the middle of a desert. And Shadow, running across the screen, lunging, taking down a man with a weapon. Then another frame. She was dragging a wounded soldier out of line of fire. And then silence. The camera caught one final image. Shadow standing protectively over a small child, her body cut and bloodied, growling as armed men surrounded her. She didn't move. She didn't leave the child. The screen went black. Amanda couldn't stop the tears. She wasn't just a weapon. She was a guardian. Dr. Evans nodded. She saw something she wasn't supposed to, protected someone she wasn't ordered to. That's why she ran. That night, as the Mitchells tried to sleep, Lily crept into the garage again. She lay beside Shadow and whispered, "You're not going back to them. I don't care what they say." Shadow exhaled, resting her muzzle on Lily's arm. Outside, headlights flickered briefly at the edge of the forest road. They didn't stop, but the message had been delivered. They were coming. The following morning felt colder than usual, even though the temperature hadn't dropped. Amanda could feel it in her bones, a tension in the air that hadn't been there before. Mark felt it too. He stood by the window longer than normal, sipping coffee, watching the tree lean like it might move. Shadow was restless. She paced the garage, circling her pup, ears alert. Every little scent outside made her stop and listen. She wasn't the same broken dog that arrived on their porch a few days ago. She was healing, rebuilding, and she was ready for something or someone. Later that day, Sheriff Dalton arrived in an unmarked vehicle. "I've got a contact with Homeland Security," he said, stepping inside. "He's discreet." I showed him the photo, the chip data, and the video footage. He confirmed it. Shadow was deployed under Unit 11 of Black Rock's International Division. Her last mission was classified. But there's something you need to hear. Amanda set down the pup's milk bottle. What is it? She was reported decommissioned 3 years ago. Mark frowned. Decommissioned? Means she wasn't supposed to survive. Most dogs in those programs weren't adopted out, Dalton said. They were retired. Quietly, they don't want liabilities. Amanda's hands flew to her mouth. She escaped a death sentence. Dalton nodded grimly. And if they know she's alive, they'll come for her. Not for custody, for cleanup. That night, the family locked every window and door. Mark loaded his old hunting rifle. Amanda kept her phone by her side, ready to dial Dalton at the first sign of trouble. They moved Shadow and her pup into the basement, where it was safer and harder to reach. At 2:37 a.m., Shadow growled. Not bark growled, a low, rumbling vibration from deep inside her chest. Her ears locked forward, body stiff, nose pointed toward the basement stairs. Mark woke instantly. He crept to the top of the stairs and whispered down, Shadow. She growled again, sharper now. Then he heard it too, a creak. From outside, Mark grabbed his rifle and slipped to the back door. Slowly, quietly, he unlocked it and stepped onto the porch. The forest was dead silent. No wind, no insects, just a thick, unnatural stillness. Then, a snap of a branch about 30 feet ahead. Someone was there. Mark raised the rifle. Who's out there? Silence. Then a voice. Calm, cold, professional. We're not here for you. We just want the dog. Mark's heart pounded. She's not yours anymore. She never was yours. A red laser appeared on the porch railing. A warning. Mark ducked instinctively and fired once into the trees. The shot echoed through the valley. Footsteps scrambled. A flash of movement retreated into the woods. Inside the house, Amanda called Dalton. They're here, she said. Send everyone. 20 minutes later, 2 patrol cars rolled up the long driveway. Lights off, engines cut. Dalton and another deputy did a full sweep of the property. They're professionals, Dalton muttered, checking tire tracks. No fingerprints, no shell casings. But they'll be back. Mark looked at Shadow, who stood in the kitchen now, her pup between her legs, her teeth bared in silent readiness. She's not running this time, he said. Neither are we. Listen, I don't usually recommend this, but there's a safe house we use for witness protection about 20 miles from here. Remote, secure, no paper trail. I can get you there by nightfall. Amanda shook her head. We're not leaving. Lily, standing beside Shadow, looked up at them all. They're scared of her. That's why they want her gone. Dalton sighed. Kid's not wrong. By morning, Mark had made a decision. They'd go to the safe house, but not to hide. They were going to expose the truth. With Dalton's help, he sent the footage from Shadow's chip to 3 journalists he trusted, the kind who didn't look away from hard stories. One responded almost immediately. If what you sent me is real, the reporter wrote, this could take down whatever's left of Black Rock Tactical. Mark responded with one sentence. Then we'll make sure they can't hide anymore. The safe house sat nestled in the Cascade foothills, far from any main road. Built like a cabin but reinforced like a bunker, it was where witnesses were hidden. People whose stories threatened powerful men. Now it was Shadow's sanctuary. Lily sat on the floor beside the mother dog, stroking her fur gently while the puppy dozed under her belly. Amanda stared out the window, uneasy. Even here, miles from home, the danger felt close. Mark paced near the fireplace. His phone buzzed. It was a journalist, Catherine Hale. Your footage is real. I confirmed it with 2 independent sources. Shadow was part of Operation Nightfire, an off-books contract in northern Syria. No oversight, no rescue missions, just silence. Mark swallowed. So what happens now? I'm writing the piece. But if she's alive, in public, it won't just be Black Rock who wants her. She's proof. Amanda approached. Proof of what? Hale's voice tightened. Proof that they didn't just weaponize animals. They discarded them, and she's the one that got away. 2 days later, an SUV pulled up to the edge of the dirt road near the safe house. Dalton had warned them. Anyone who finds this place isn't lost. They're looking. Mark grabbed his rifle. Amanda went to shield Lily. Shadow stood, hackles raised, every muscle in her body tensed. A man stepped out of the vehicle. Clean cut, early 50s. Dark suit, ID badge clipped to his belt. He walked slowly, hands visible. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he said loudly. Mark stepped outside, then turned around. The man didn't flinch. "My name is Director Mason Varick. I'm with the National Security Contracting Division. Black Rock Tactical doesn't exist anymore. What's left of it is under my command." Mark's grip on the rifle tightened. "You mean the part that still hunts dogs?" Varick raised a hand. "I came alone. No team, no threats. I'm here for her. She's not yours." "She was never yours either," he said coldly. "She was bred, trained, and deployed for one reason, obedience. But she malfunctioned, went rogue. Do you know what she did?" Mark didn't answer. "She attacked one of her own handlers during a mission, protected a child, disobeyed direct orders. That's not loyalty. It's a glitch. And that glitch almost cost a man his life. She saved a child's life." Amanda snapped, stepping out behind Mark. Varick looked at her. That wasn't her job. She wasn't trained for compassion. "You think she's safe now? Wait until she panics. Until something inside her snaps. You're playing house with a loaded weapon." Inside the cabin, Shadow stood still, watching, listening. Her eyes locked on the man outside. Then she growled, not with fear, but recognition. Lily ran to the door. "She knows him," she whispered. "He hurt her." Varick's jaw tightened. "This is a mistake. You don't know what she's capable of." Mark lowered the rifle, just slightly. "No, you don't. You turned her into a weapon. But she chose something else. She chose us." Varick sighed. "Then I'll be back. With clearance. With force. You won't win this." He turned and walked back to the SUV, driving off without another word. That night, Amanda found Shadow sitting in the hallway, staring at nothing, not even blinking. "She's scared," Amanda whispered. Mark shook his head. "She's remembering." Dalton called an hour later. That man, Varick, he's no longer with the government. He was terminated last year after a classified inquiry into misconduct. He's working with Black Rock remnants, trying to rebuild it underground. This wasn't official. That visit today, that was personal. "So he's coming back," Mark said. "Yes, and when he does, it won't be just words." The Mitchells knew they couldn't run forever, but neither could Shadow. She had chosen them, trusted them, and now they would fight for her. Because in a world where monsters wore badges and dogs were thrown away like broken tools, this German shepherd had done something extraordinary. She remembered how to love. The wind howled through the acer trees surrounding the safe house, rattling the old glass windows like ghostly hands. Inside, the Mitchells sat at the kitchen table with Sheriff Dalton. Plans were spread out before them. Exit routes, emergency contacts, a list of who could be trusted and who definitely couldn't. Shadow lay on a rug beside the fireplace. Her body curled protectively around her pup. She wasn't sleeping, though. Her eyes were open, fixed on the door, ears twitching at every sound outside. Her instincts were back in combat mode. She knows he's coming. Lily said softly, sitting cross-legged beside the dog. She feels it. Mark glanced toward his daughter. She's not the only one. Dalton leaned forward. Varick won't come alone next time. My guess? He's had a few ex-operatives still loyal to him. Maybe even off-grid. They're not going to show up in uniforms, Dalton said. They're going to show up like ghosts. Amanda's voice trembled. So what do we do? We can't keep her on the run forever. This isn't just about hiding her. It's about stopping them. Dalton nodded. We expose them, and we make damn sure Shadow never disappears again. That evening, Catherine Hale, the investigative journalist, arrived in person. I've got a deal, she said, stepping inside and shaking off the rain. I'm going to break the story in 2 days. Full footage, witness testimony, vet confirmation, and her military records. But that's not enough, she added. What else do you need? Mark asked. A face, Catherine replied. People don't cry over dogs they don't know. They need to see her, hear what she went through. They need to connect. Amanda hesitated. You want to film her? I want to show the world what she is now, Catherine said. Not a weapon, not a liability. A mother, a protector, a survivor. Lily stood. Can I talk too? Catherine looked at her, surprised. You saved me, Lily said. People should know that. The next morning, Catherine filmed in the backyard. Lily sat beside Shadow, speaking from the heart as the sun lit up the green of the hills behind them. She came to us when no one else cared. She didn't bark. She didn't bite. She just asked us to help her baby. And we did. And now she protects us too. Shadow rested her head in Lily's lap as the camera rolled. Catherine zoomed in on the dog's face. Her scarred ear, her soft eyes, the silent strength in every breath she took. She didn't run because she was broken, Lily said. She ran because she loved. That night, Dalton stayed with them, rifle beside the door. It was quiet for hours. Too quiet. At 3:19 a.m., Shadow stood suddenly and barked, once short, sharp, then silence. Dalton was already at the window. Vehicle. No lights. Mark was beside him. Same SUV? No. Dalton said. Worse. Black van. No plates. Amanda rushed to Lily's room. The girl was already awake, clutching her stuffed animal, eyes wide. Is it him? She whispered. Yes, Amanda said. But we're ready. They moved fast. Dalton shut off all the lights. Mark took Shadow and her pup to the basement. Amanda stayed by the front door, phone in hand. Minutes passed. Then the unmistakable crunch of boots outside. A knock, not a police knock. Deliberate, threatening. Mark's voice echoed from the hallway. Get ready. Shadow growled, low and deep, standing in front of her puppy like a living shield. The door creaked open just an inch, and a voice slipped through the gap. She belongs to us. Dalton raised his rifle. She never did, he said. Walk away. Or I swear. A shot rang out. Dalton hit the floor, rolling, returning fire through the window. Chaos erupted. Amanda screamed. Lily sobbed from the hallway. Shadow lunged toward the door, barking with terrifying power. Outside, the shadows moved. Not ghosts, not mercenaries, just men with dark pasts. Finally exposed to the light, Shadow didn't hesitate. As the door crashed open, she launched forward, not with fear, but with purpose. She tore through the smoke, knocking the masked man to the ground before he could reach Lily. A second intruder raised a weapon. Dalton fired first. 2 shots. 1 scream. Silence. When it was over, Shadow limped back inside, bleeding but standing. Lily ran to her, sobbing into her fur. You came back for us, she whispered. And Shadow, with trembling strength, nuzzled her one last time before collapsing. Shadow survived. Barely. Her story spread across the country within days. News outlets. Headlines. Millions watched the footage of her resting beside her pup. The scar in her ear visible proof of what she'd endured and what she'd overcome. Black Rock was dismantled permanently. Varick disappeared. And Shadow? She became a symbol of loyalty, courage, and unconditional love. The Mitchells adopted her and her pup officially. And every year, on the day she arrived at their door, Lily whispered the same words. You didn't just save your baby, Shadow. You saved us.